Right, hi guys, my name is Ozan Elmaz and I've prepared this little tutorial for you so you can understand a little bit more about statements and in particularly how to make your corrections and your errors during a written statement. Now remember, on your courses, your statements at the moment are handwritten. So I know different places, different environments, different employers. Some of them will allow you to do the written version on what I've got in front of me now, but some of them still use the old paper version, so we have to prepare you for all eventualities. So, first of all, there's a couple of things I want to point out. One is obviously every statement has to have your name on top of it, so you can see where it says statement of Thomas Bard, and then you state whether you're over 18. So age, if under 18, over 18, so then you would actually state that you're over 18, and then occupation, you put your occupation down. So each statement would have to have that on top. Also, each statement now, the only thing that one of the things that differs, it's not the only thing that differs, but one of the things that differ between a electronic statement like the one I've got in front of me now, sort of on like a template on Word, is that each page and its header would have this part here, which I'm highlighting, would have a declaration. There you go. So let's say, let me try and do that again. There you go. You see that? That is your declaration. And it basically says something like this statement consists of 1 pages or 2 pages or 3 pages, however many pages your statement is. This statement consists of 1 pages, each signed by me. It is true to the best of my knowledge and belief, and I make it knowing that if it is tendered in evidence, I shall be liable to prosecution if I have willfully stated in it anything which I know to be false or do not believe to be true. What you're basically saying there is you're saying, hey, if it's found that I've written anything in the statement that I knew was false at the time, or I was basically trying to lead basically lead the police or the courts into thinking something else knowingly, then obviously I can be liable to prosecution. Now, the difference is on the electronic version, they have this statement on top of each page, usually in the header, and you sign each page anyway. On a written statement, you don't have to have it on each page. You can just complete your statement, especially for the task that you need to pass the course. You can handwrite the statement and you just need the declaration right at the end. And remember, the declaration does have to be the very last thing that goes at the end when it's handwritten, okay, especially. So let's go on to the actual types of errors. So the first one we're going to deal with is the type of error that as you're writing, you realize that you've made a mistake. You put a line through it, do your initial, and then you continue with the correct word. So I'm just going to sort of wing it now. So I'm going to make something up. So I saw Anthony walk down Deep Dean Road. Okay, so sorry, there you go, Dean Road. You can just put RD. So at this point, as I'm writing it down, I realize, and oops, it wasn't Deep Bean Road. Actually, it was Lansdowne Road. So what I would do is now obviously I know I'm doing it electronically, but you would do this by hand. I would do a line through it, like so, as you can see there, guys. So there, I've done a line through it. And what I would do is I've pre-prepared a little initial, and I would put my initials here. So let me just make this a little smaller. Bang, voila, there you go. So that's it. I can just put that there. So I've put my initials just above, somewhere sort of above the error, and that's basically saying, yep, I'm putting my initials to say, yep, this was my mistake. I made this mistake, and I'm the one rectifying it. And then I would write Lansdowne. Oops, let me just take the strike through off. There you go. So Lansdowne Road. So there you go. So that's how we would fix an error as you're doing it. Okay, so there's space in front of us, and we can just put the correction. So the second type of error. So let's if we go down. So yeah, click here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a chunk of writing, and I'm going to make a few errors now and continue writing. Now remember, like I said, like your trainer would have mentioned in the course, the error when you're doing it by hand, if you made an error, it's not like the digital version where you can just come in and slot in, come in and put your cursor there and just slot in the correct word, because you can't do that when you're handwriting. So this is why you need to know this method of doing it. So I saw Anthony walk down. Let's make the first mistake. Deep Dean Road. Okay, so that's going to be our first mistake. When he got there, he stopped and spoke to a man. So that's going to be our second mistake. So it's not a man, it was a woman, right? When it spoke to a man, then they both walked off towards, let's say, Hamilton Close. So at that point, I lost sight of them off camera one. Then used camera 2 to relocate them. Okay, so what I'm basically saying is I saw Anthony walk down Deep Dean Road. That's going to be our first mistake because it wasn't Deep Dean Road, it was Lansdowne Road. When he got there, he stopped and spoke to a man, so that would be our second mistake. Let me just change this. There you go. Well, actually, there's another. Actually, we'll call that our. Actually, let me just fix this. So, yeah, we need to put a little grammatical error there. Right. So, when he got there, he stopped and spoke to a man. So it wasn't a man; it was a woman. Then they both walked off towards Hamilton Close. So it wasn't. They never walked down towards Hamilton Close. Let's say they walked down towards Happily Gardens. So we're going to have 3 mistakes there. And then I've continued writing. So at that point, I lost sight of them on camera 1, then used camera 2 to relocate them. So great. Okay. So then obviously what I can do is now at this point, let's say for example, this was the end of my chronological account. So we all know the structure of a statement. So you start off with your introduction, and then you start off. So you've got your introduction, then you introduce your main characters, then you set the scene, which is talking about the locations, and then you would talk about your chronological account, which is basically an account of what happened in order, and then you would do your closure. So let's say, for example, I've done this little chapter of writing. This is the end of my chronological account, and now I'm going into my closure. And the reason why I'm kind of doing this is because it's within the closure that we're going to demonstrate the corrections of our errors, and it's going to make sense in a minute. So what do we have in our closure? We always have to have in a closure that you'll be willing to attend court if necessary. So I am willing to attend court on this matter if needed. Yeah, just something as simple as that. Just basically to say that you're willing to attend court on this matter if needed. And you need another line, something, and what this line would do is this line is explaining where and when you've done your statement and if there was anyone present. So it would be something along the lines of this. This is my original statement made in the control room. Yeah, in the control room at, or you could say between 2200 hours and 2300 hours in the presence of Michael. Yeah, so in the presence of Michael. So Michael would be the person that I introduced. It might be the person that I've introduced in my main characters that were there in the control room at the time with me. Obviously, if you were on foot patrol and you're not in a control room, it would be something along the lines of this is my original statement made in the staff canteen, or this was my original statement made in the in the break room, whatever you want to call it. So it's basically a line explaining where you've done your statement when you done your statement, and if there was anyone present. If there wasn't anyone present, obviously you can leave that part out. So we can actually take that part out. So this is my original statement made in the control room between the hours of 2200 hours, between 2200 hours and 2300 hours. Now, the reason why it's important to add that in is because if it does go to court, then the defense might turn around and say, well, when did you actually write this statement? How do I know it was fresh in your memory? Well, this will prevent them from asking that question in the first place because you've already written it down. So great. So remember, I'm just going to put here, obviously, in your actual statements, you're not going to put it in, but what I'll do is I'm going to put closure here. So we kind of understand that this, from this point on, this is where I've started my closure. Yeah. And what I'm going to do here is I'll put end of chronological account. So just so you guys are clear on what's going on. So there we go. Let's end of chronological account. Voila. So that's the end of the. So this is end of chronological account, and this is the start of the closure. So you put down that you're willing to attend court. You put down that where you've done your statement and between what hours. So now, and then usually what you would do is if it was a written statement, let me just copy and paste this part here because this is what you'd be doing in your original statement. At that point, you would put bang. This would be your statement, and then you'd have obviously you'd also put your let's copy and paste that as well. So you'd also write out your you do your signature and a date. Okay, so great. So normal circumstances, if there wasn't any of this second type of error, then that would be it. You can just finish your statement. However, we have got this type of error, so we're going to learn how to deal with it now. And so first error, Deep Dean Road, we put a line through it. Voila, there we go. So we put a line through there, and let's put a line through man. Oh, sorry, I forgot something. So as we put a line through, so the first error, let's make this a little smaller. I've made these a little bit too large. There we go. So the first error, I put an A. So as you can see, instead of putting my initials, I put an A, and it's going to make sense in a minute. The second one, I'll put a B. So there you go. Man would be B, and let's say the third one where it says Hamilton Close, let's do C. So A, B, C, and obviously if you had a fourth error, that would be D, and so on. So you've got A, I'll put B and C. So the first error is an A, the second error is B, and the third error is C. So the reason why you do this is because, again, like I said, when you're handwriting this, you can't go back. It's not in digital format, so you can't go back and just slot the new words or the correction in there, or you can't delete it and correct it. So what you've got to do is you create what I call an index of errors. So, and that would be in your closure. So after you got your closure here, I'm willing to attend court if necessary. And these are all things, by the way, guys. All of this has to be there, including your errors as well. This is a requirement, so you mustn't forget any of these points. So I'm willing to attend court on this matter if needed. This is my original statement made in the control room between the hours of 2200 hours and 2300 hours in the presence of, if you are in the presence of anyone. Now, remember, the declaration is the last thing that is on the statement, so we've got to now do our errors. So what we do is we can put errors, and then we can put a colon, A equals, or we can just put a hyphen. So what would A be? Okay, so A is Lansdowne. Oops, Lansdowne Road. There we go. Spelled that wrong. Voila. So A is Lansdowne Road, and then I'd put B hyphen woman. So because it wasn't a man, it was a woman, or however, yeah. And then why is that small? Okay, I'll just leave it like that. Is that correct? No. Okay. Okay. So another hyphen, and let me just fix that because it's some reason the hyphens become small. There we go. Okay, so let me just put a C there. There. Oh, see. Okay, cool. So the last one, instead of it being Hamilton Close, so look, we've got an error here, which is Hamilton Close. We also need to put a line through that. Let's not forget that. Voila. So we put a line through it. And instead of it being Hamilton Close, we can say it is, I'd tell you, let's call it Northumberland Park Road. Voila. So, and that's your index of errors. So what they can do in court, if they do see something like this, they know that those errors are going to be indexed within your closure, so they'll know exactly what's going on. And obviously after that, you've got to make sure you do this before you do your declaration. Your declaration is the very last thing. You don't actually have to do it on different lines, guys. You can do it like this as well. So I'll just quickly show you. You can put it all on one line. So let's do that one as well. Yeah, so it doesn't have to go downwards. You can put it all in one line as well if you want to save space. I guess it depends on whether you've got space on the page. You don't want to go into the next page unnecessarily, do you, if you've only got a few errors. Cool. So, and obviously in your written statement, there's one more thing that I need to point out. In your written statement, as you can see on the templates, you can kind of leave these gaps. Because the idea is, I believe when they are written statements, they get password protected, so no one can edit or change these anyway afterwards once they're done. However, when it's written, we need to prevent people from we need to prevent people from actually adding stuff in. So what we do is we do lines. Obviously, I'm just representing the lines here with dashes. So what we'll do is, let's say if I had, there you go. Oops, sorry. We'll just go back. So let's go down here. Let's say if I had one line between each writing, what I would do is I'd line it off like so. I'll do a straight line. And also at the end of each line, there is something else you have to do. You would add your initials as well, just to say that yes, you in fact done that. Cool. So obviously, when you are writing out your statements, don't leave too many gaps or lines in between. You can, to make it clearer, to make your statement more readable, I would say definitely leave one line between each kind of section. Yeah, so you've got your introduction, your main characters, and leave a line, your main characters, and then you'll set the scene, your chronological account, and then your closure. Obviously, if you leave one line in between, it's kind of clear on what's what. It makes it easier for us to read and understand. And what you would do is, so I'll show you. Let me just copy this 2 seconds. So bam, and then I could possibly go here. I think this should work. There we go. We've got, let's come over here. Oops. There you go. So you'd have to put an initial at the end of each line, I guess. There we go. We've got one there. Oh, sorry. There we go. So let's try and put it here. Ah, there we go. Makes it easier. Okay, so guys, I'm just trying to move this. Okay, let me just make another. Oh, okay. So, that was easier. Okay, cool. That's it. There we go. So, as you can see, at the end of each line that I'm doing, I'm putting my initials with a little circle. Again, just to kind of clarify to the court or anyone else that in fact I did that. And then obviously you do a declaration and sign it. You wouldn't have to do a line at the end of that because they know nothing belongs there anyway. So if there is something there, then that looks a little bit sus. But again, I guess if you wanted to, you can. We can do that as well. Let's go here. That's it. And we can, yeah, let's do one here as well. So that's it. We can do a line up to there as well. So that's it, guys. So obviously, when you are doing your handwritten statements, if there are any lines and gaps, which there shouldn't be too many in the main part of the statement, because you should only have just one line between each section. But obviously, in the end closure, you can do that. Again, if you wanted to, you could delete this and bring these two together. However, it starts to start kind of looking. There you go. Look, we can bring these two together to avoid having another line. But for me, it just kind of looks a little bit messy. I much prefer you put one line in between. There we go. I'll go back to that. There you go. I'd much prefer you put a line in between, and it's a lot easier for us to read, and obviously as assessors to work out that to find the points that we need to see. Okay.